Good morning and welcome to our webinar this morning. I'm just going to give this a moment or two to make sure that I have pressed all the right buttons and that people are joining correctly from the waiting room, which I can see that we have. That's brilliant. Okay, so our topic for this morning is SPSS license options and a bit of kind of explanation about all of the different options that there are around SPSS licensing. So before I hand over to Felix and we get into the kind of core of the presentation, I've got a few housekeeping points for you. We are recording the session today, and I'll just check I've pressed the right buttons. Yes, we are definitely recording the session today. Once we're finished here, we'll get this processed and you will get an email that has the full video and the Q&A and has an opportunity to download the slides that we're using. So when you get that through, all of the materials will be available to you and all of the live links in the slides will obviously be clickable links for you when you download those slides. If you're interested in a private session or a one-to-one to talk about your own licensing, please ask us. We can rerun this for you for a group of colleagues, or we could run something just for you if you wanted to talk to us in more depth about your licenses. Today, you'll notice that your lines are all muted automatically when you join, but you can ask us questions as we go through. If you hover your mouse at the bottom of the Zoom window, there's a chat and a Q&A function. You can send us questions in there at any point during the session. When one of us isn't talking, the other one will be looking at the chat and the questions. And then at the end of the presentation, we will both stay on the line and I'll read any questions we've got in there out, and we'll have a bit of a discussion and hopefully get answers for you one way or another. So you have two of us here today. My name's Rachel, I'm Business Development Manager. My colleague Felix is going to drive for most of this presentation. So Felix, do you want to take it from here?
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Rachel. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I've spoken with some of you before, but for anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Felix Cratey, and I'm part of the customer care team at Smart Vision. I actually started working at SPSS around 20 years ago when it was a standalone company. Then I moved to IBM when SPSS was acquired by IBM, and I stayed there for about 5 years before joining the Smart Vision team in 2015. So I've been answering questions about SPSS licenses for a very long time, and hopefully can answer any of your questions today. In terms of introducing Smart Vision, I'll just take a moment to do that as well for anybody who hasn't worked with us yet. We're a partner of IBM's and we specialise in SPSS software, which means that we can advise you about all the different license options. We can sell you software. We can help you with installation when you're ready to do that. And we can also provide support and training as well. Smart Vision collectively has a huge amount of SPSS experience. I'm not the only person at Smart Vision who's been around SPSS for many years. Most of us have actually spent decades of our lives working in and around SPSS software. So please do ask us anything and we'll be very happy to help and hopefully can answer your questions. So moving on to the content of today's session. This webinar is all about SPSS statistics license options. And the reason that we're running this session is that license options for IBM SPSS statistics are complicated. There are lots of different options and nuances to think about. And for many people, the terminology can be new and a little bit confusing. So the objective of today's session is to give you the information that you need to make the right decision about your license. It's also worth saying that there have been quite a lot of changes in SPSS licensing over the years. So even if you've used SPSS historically, you might still find that you gain something new out of this session. So what exactly are we going to cover today? I'm going to break down the license options to help you understand the best type of license for your needs. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to consider three things. What functionality you actually need, how many people will need the software and how they'll access it, and how long will you be needing the software for. The answer to these questions will help determine the right license for you. There is quite a lot to consider up front when it comes to SPSS licensing, but it is worth working through that process to make sure that you don't spend more money than you need to on licenses, but also to make sure that you have the right technology for what you actually need to do. So thinking about functionality first, as some of you might know, SPSS is a modular package with SPSS base being the core component and then various additional modules to give extra functionality. It's important to understand what the software is going to be used for so that you can choose the right modules for what you actually need. And how are you going to work out what you need? Our suggestion is that whoever is going to be using the software should head over to the Smart Vision website. And I've included a link on this slide, and I'm going to take you there now to have a look. So if I just go over to our website, there are a number of ways that you can access information about the modules, but I'm going to take you to this one. So on the right hand side of this page, you'll see it says 2-minute module overviews. You can click on each of these modules to see a bit more information about what the module contains and to see a very helpful 2-minute overview, which gives a little bit more detail. I do strongly recommend that if you have been approached by someone in your organisation who needs to use SPSS, I suggest that you ask them to come and have a look at these links and really be clear on what it is that they need. Because as I mentioned, the licensing for SPSS has changed over the years, and it might be that the setup that they had historically isn't actually going to be the right one for them anymore. So depending on what you need to do, you can either buy SPSS base on its own, or you can pick and choose the modules that you need. And if all of this talk of modules just makes you feel a bit confused, then please do give us a call or email us. We're very happy to answer any questions that you have and to try and make this process as straightforward for you as possible. So once you've thought about the modules and whether you need anything over and above SPSS base, the next thing to consider is how many people will be using the software, as well as how regularly they'll need it. So some of our customers use SPSS on a daily basis, while other people only use it occasionally. And in terms of license options, SPSS statistics can be accessed in 2 different ways, either with an authorized license or a concurrent license. An authorized license allows a single installation of the software, whereas a concurrent license can be installed on as many machines as you like, but is limited in terms of the number of people who can access the software at any given time. For the concurrent license, a license manager is installed on a central server, and this checks that how the license is being used to prevent more people from accessing the software than you're licensed for. The concurrent license is a much more expensive option because you get a huge amount of flexibility for the license. Anybody in the organization can use the software, and the limitation is just how many are using it at one time. So that flexibility does come with a far greater price. So let's consider a couple of use cases. If you have 5 or fewer people who need to use the software, then an authorized license is likely to be the cheaper option for you. You purchase the number of licenses that you need, and each can be installed on a single machine. So for example, if you have 2 people who need to use the software, you purchase 2 authorized users and install the software on 2 individual machines. Please do be aware of the single installation rule though. If someone uses a laptop and a PC and is planning to use SPSS on both of those machines, then they would actually need 2 licenses to do that. So when we work with customers in this situation, we would generally recommend that they choose 1 machine if possible, because if they need to buy 2 licenses, it is twice the price of a single user. And if you ever need to move the software to a new machine, or if someone leaves the organization, so you need to move the software to a new person, then we can support you with that. So you're not indefinitely tied to the initial decision that you make in terms of where the software is installed. So a concurrent license, on the other hand, might make more sense where there are more people in the organization who might need access to the software, but where they aren't all likely to need it at the same time. For example, if you have a team working across different time zones, or a group of people who only need access to SPSS on an occasional basis, depending on the project that they're working on. A use case for a concurrent license might be that you have a 2-user concurrent license, which means that the software can be installed on as many machines as you want it to be, but only 2 people can access the software at any given time. When the third person tries to log in, they'll get an error message and they won't be allowed to access the software until somebody else has logged off. And if you're trying to decide between the authorized and concurrent license, it's also worth thinking about how your use of SPSS statistics might change over time. Ultimately, for a lot of people, the decision might come down to price because the concurrent license is a lot more expensive. Again, Smart Vision are very happy to talk with you in more detail about your particular situation and help you make the best decision for now, but also to consider what you might need for future. So the final thing to think about is whether you would like to rent the software or whether you would like to buy it outright. A subscription license is rented from us on a monthly basis. Some individuals or organisations with short-term projects will rent the software for 1 month or for a set number of months, depending on the needs of their particular project. However, this license is usually bought 12 months at a time as an annual subscription license, because renting the software annually is cheaper per month than renting the software for a shorter amount of time. It's important to note that if you rent the software for less than 12 months, then you can't pick and choose the exact modules you might need. Instead, you have to choose between preset bundled options of what the modules are. However, if you buy the license for a 1-year term, then you have more freedom to choose the modules you need, and additional modules can be more easily added as you need them in future too. And if you're considering a concurrent license, which I mentioned on the last slide, that's the one where you can install the software on unlimited machines, but it's limited by the number of people who can access it at any one time, then this type of license is only available on an annual subscription license. IBM don't provide concurrent licenses for shorter subscription periods. So a subscription license purchased anywhere between 1 and 11 months can only be bought as an authorized license, which is the type of license where you buy each installation that you need. At the end of your rental period, you can either cancel your license or you can renew it as needed. The subscription licenses are the cheapest way to use SPSS software if you're going to need it for anywhere between 1 month and 3 years. And as mentioned, the annual subscription license is the most popular license type that we sell. I should also mention that all of our subscription licenses do give you free access to telephone technical support and upgrades. And actually, while I'm mentioning upgrades, it might be helpful to know that there's usually a new version of SPSS released annually, with DOT versions released during the year as necessary. The alternative to the subscription license is a perpetual license. So this license is purchased outright, so your organisation will own it completely. This license comes with 12 months maintenance included, which gives you access to telephone technical support and to upgrades. And at the end of the 12 months, you can renew your maintenance if you wish at around 20% price of the initial purchase price, or you can cancel your maintenance, which means you no longer have access to telephone support or upgrades, but you can continue to use the software on the version that you have installed for as long as you'd like to, or for as long as it will run on your operating system. The rental license is cheaper up front. Sorry, the subscription license that I mentioned on the previous slide. So if you do only need the software for a year or two, then that license might be a better option for you. However, if you're using SPSS for everything you do, and that's unlikely to change, then you might consider the perpetual license, as that would be a cheaper option over the longer term. And it's also worth saying that you can have the perpetual license as either an authorized or a concurrent license, and you have total flexibility over which modules you add and when you might want to add them. So I just want to do a quick summary slide so you can compare the subscription and perpetual licenses side by side. I realise that this session is very full of words that you might never have heard before, so I'm trying to reiterate things a bit as I go to hopefully make sure they make sense. Oftentimes we would have this discussion as a phone call, which means you can be asking questions as you go. I appreciate, this is perhaps going through things a bit quicker, so please do feel free to post any questions in the chat. We can come back to them, or as Rachel said, if this is just all feels a bit much, we're happy to have a one-to-one conversation afterwards as well. So again, the choice between these licenses often does come down to price, but please let us know if you've got any particular needs that you want to discuss in more detail. So I've now run through all of the main considerations with regards to SPSS licenses, but by way of a final summary, I just wanted to sort of recap everything that I've covered in a single slide. So let's see how this goes. So there are three main things to consider when buying SPSS software. The first one is what functionality is needed. The Smart Vision website has lots of information about SPSS Base, which is the core component, and also all of the modules. And we can help you with anything that isn't clear. And we can also advise you about how to buy the modules you need, if you need any modules in addition to Base, and how to do that in the cheapest way possible. The second consideration was how many people need to use the software and how they will access it. The answer to this question will help you decide if you need an authorized license, where you buy one license for each installation you need, or whether you need a concurrent license, where you can install the software on as many machines as you like, but the license will limit how many people can access the software at any given time. And the final question is, how long will the software be used for? If you'll use the software for between 1 month and 3 years, then renting the software on a subscription license is likely to best meet your needs. But if you'll need the software for longer than this, then a perpetual license will likely be more cost effective. Hopefully the answer to these questions will steer you towards the best license for what you need. But again, if anything isn't clear or isn't obvious to you, then we're happy to help. So I think that sort of wraps up the information on licenses. Before I hand back to Rachel to see if we've got any questions, I also just wanted to spend a moment talking about a couple of other things that might be of relevance or interest. So I wanted to let you know that all of our software licenses give you free access to our usually paid for online self-paced SPSS training courses. So you can see on this page, they all have prices next to them. If you have an SPSS license with us, then you have free access to any of these courses. These courses are very popular with our customers and offer a great introductory training course for those people who are brand new to SPSS, as well as being a helpful refresher for those who might not have used the software for a while, or for people who are fluent in SPSS Base, but perhaps wanted to develop their understanding of how the modules can be used. Please do have a look at them and pass these details on to anybody else who might find them useful. I'm actually going to just hop back to the website quickly now and show you where to find them. So if I go back to the homepage again, so the courses can be found under services and online self-paced training courses. And if you click through there, you'll see everything that was on the PowerPoint slide I just showed, and you can click in and find some more information. I sort of can't emphasize enough, sometimes the people who buy SPSS software aren't the people who use SPSS software, and sometimes we don't speak to the people who actually use the software. And if a few years down the line we do end up having a conversation with them and we ask them about these courses, sometimes they haven't heard of them, and perhaps they might have found them useful to help improve their efficiency in terms of using SPSS. So please do pass that information on. I also wanted to promote the large library of free video content that we have on our website. So under our resources section, we've got a number of areas here with information, but I'm going to go to our frequently asked questions section first. So under this section, you'll see many pieces of information about installing, getting started with SPSS, how to perform key functions, how various statistical techniques work. And if you click into those, some of them will be video content and some of them will be written information. Again, I appreciate that websites can be tricky to navigate sometimes, or perhaps once you've bought the software, you don't see the reason to come back to the website, but there is an awful lot of content here to be used. So please do. In the SPSS statistics section, there are blog entries, more video information. So there is really a wealth of content. And if there is a particular thing that you're looking to try and do and you're not exactly sure how to do it, then please feel free to ask us too, because we are always happy to either point you to content on the website or help you as we can. So I think that pretty much concludes this whistle-stop tour of SPSS license options. I hope that it's been useful and not overly confusing, and I'll pass back to Rachel now to see if we've got any questions. Thank you.
I've got a few, yes. So I might answer some of these.
Please do.
If I normally use SPSS on my PC, but want to use it on my laptop while on a trip, can I move it across for a week and then move it back? So the answer is yes, you can. If you're licensed through us here at Smart Vision, you can contact our support team, who will help you to unlock the license code that you're using for the current installation on the PC, which will allow it to be used again on the laptop, and then you can contact the support team again on your return to move it back again. It takes about 24 hours to get the codes unlocked. So it's not the sort of thing you want to be doing, you know, today and then tomorrow and then the next day again, because it's kind of too much faff. But you can do that. So if you're licensed through Smart Vision, contact us either at the info at email address on the screen, or the support email address that you will have when you are given your license. If you're licensed directly with IBM, then you have to contact the IBM support team, and they have a team who look at these unlocking situations for you. You can take this one, Felix. Is the free access to online training only for people with a current SPSS license, or can we get it retroactively if our license has lapsed?
So if your license has lapsed, that means that you have a perpetual license, I assume, where you are no longer paying maintenance on that license, but you're continuing to use the license. I would assume that's what you mean, because if you have a rental license that you've cancelled, then you would no longer have access to the software. So I would guess that the question wouldn't be relevant. So the short answer to the question is probably yes, because we want to support all SPSS users as much as we can. My suggestion is just send us an email to the info@sv-europe.com email address. Then we can understand a bit more about what your particular situation is, make sure that we understand it correctly, and that, you know, we can then kind of direct you best from there.
Okay, thank you. I bought a license from IBM a long time ago and I need to add to it. Can you help?
You want to take that?
No, you can take that. I'm going to read this one.
Okay. So you bought a license from IBM a long time ago. Can you add to it? Yes, we absolutely can help you with that. There are a number of things that we would need to understand up front to be able to best advise you. So if you bought your license from IBM a while ago, it would be useful to know whether you're on the current version of SPSS, so whether you're still kind of on maintenance and you've upgraded to the latest version, or whether you're on an old version. As part of that conversation, we might recommend that you might want to move to the latest version if you're not. And if you are on the latest version, you know, that's straightforward for us. We can then support you in adding whichever modules you need. And if you are running an older version, we can provide license codes so that your modules match the version of SPSS that you're currently running. If you'd like to move to the latest version as part of that conversation and you know, sort of review of your licenses, then we can help you to do that as well. We can communicate with IBM directly. So if you are struggling to find your paperwork for your IBM license, or, you know, somebody bought it ages ago and then has left the organization and you really have no idea kind of which way is up, then please do contact us first, because sometimes we can help make the process a little bit easier for you, and perhaps get some information from IBM to support you in trying to understand your current situation. I hope that answers the question.
Yep, I think it does. Yeah, I've got a follow on from it though. So how do I find out what license and modules I have installed already?
Right.
Did you just go to the?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So
you're on it.
So I'll say it because then I can direct it as I say it. So good question, and one that we get a lot, and I probably should have pointed to this, but I forgot. If you go to the Smart Vision website under the resource section, and then you go to our FAQ section, in this first set of help topics, installing and getting started with SPSS statistics, there is one somewhere that says, how do I know? Thank you.
Bottom of the first block, yeah.
How do I know which SPSS modules I have installed? So if you click on that, it will guide you with a video and also some pictorial explanations, but essentially you type in a short piece of syntax that will give you the information that you need about what you've got installed already.
Brilliant, thank you. I work for the NHS. Our trust stopped using SPSS because of the cost of licenses. Are there any plans to make fees more competitive for the NHS, as we're encouraged to use R, as it is free and powerful, but a lot of researchers were trained using SPSS? I can't speak for IBM, but if you buy your licenses from Smart Vision, we do support the NHS with discounted pricing. Our MD is quite particular about that, actually. So if you are looking for SPSS pricing for the NHS, please do contact us and we can talk to you about the built-in discounts that we offer. I don't know what IBM do directly. I don't think that they offer or any competitive pricing to the NHS, but Smart Vision does.
Can I add one extra point to that, which is just that we have a huge amount of SPSS licenses in the NHS through Smart Vision. So it's possible that whichever trust you work for might already be a customer of Smart Vision's through another kind of department or division. And sometimes if you know, the planets align perfectly, there might be a way that you can either access the software through an existing license, or else you know, at the very least speak to some of your colleagues about how they were able to get budget for their licenses. So definitely do get in touch and we can sort of help you more specifically.
And there's an increasing number of NHS trusts that are buying that concurrent license that you mentioned earlier, because then they can buy a very small number of licenses which can be available to everybody across the whole trust. It takes a bit of juggling to make sure that not all of the researchers want to use it all at the same time and to have the right number of licenses. But that has, I would say, over the last couple of years become a much more common implementation across NHS trusts that we're working with. Kind of following on from what you said there, Felix, is I've got an old copy, version 19. How do I get the latest version of SPSS? This is also a situation that a lot of organizations find themselves in, that they have got licenses that they bought 10 years ago and haven't maintained support on, and they're stuck with old versions. Do you want to take this?
Yeah, I thought I was sitting comfortably because I thought you were. I need to clear my throat first, sorry. So yes, we can support you with upgrading it. Again, in this situation, I'm just going to keep saying the terminology to help it kind of sink in a bit. In this situation, you would have a perpetual license, which means that your organization owns the software outright, but you would have cancelled the maintenance on it, which means that you have no longer upgraded the software. So you're sort of stuck on version 19, which is the version you bought. In that case, if you work with us, we can reinstate that license for you. So what that means is that we offer you a discount on what the brand new purchase price would be, but you do still have to pay something, unfortunately, I'm afraid. But that reinstates your license and kind of resets you to the current version. And once you're on that version, that reinstatement fee will include 12 months access to telephone technical support and upgrades. So for the following 12 months, you can then upgrade as and when you wish, according to when an upgrade is released. And then at the end of that 12-month period, you can either choose to continue the maintenance part of your contract, which will be roughly 20% the cost of the purchase price, or you can cancel that maintenance and then continue using the version that you're now on.
Could you please go back to the free training on the website? I've just had somebody who was asking how they access that.
Yeah, so shall I shall I just take half a step back and explain the process of getting access to it first, and then I can show where it is?
Yeah.
So if you are an existing Smart Vision customer, then please send us an email, either email one of us directly if you've already got contact, otherwise email the info@ email address that's on the slides, and explain that you're a customer and that you'd like access. All we need from you in order to provide access to the free training is we need to know the name, email address, and job title of the individual or individuals who would like access. Once we've got that information, we'll register you to access the training for free, and one of our colleagues will send you a link with your kind of login details to the system. And then in terms of accessing it, on our website, you go to the services tab, and then the online self-paced training courses tab, and then you can click through to whichever you want. If you try and access this software because you think, if you try and access these training courses because you think, oh, that's great, I'm a Smart Vision customer, I have free access, and you go in and you try and buy it and it's at a price and you're wondering why you're paying for it because you think it should be free, it's just because you haven't registered with us yet. So you have to just do that first manual step and drop us an email and we'll get you registered in order for that to become free.
And that if anybody who has bought their licenses from Smart Vision, when our colleague Joe, who does all of the fulfillments, sends you your fulfillment email, the details of the accessing the training are in there as well. If each individual needs a separate login for training, how does this work for an organisation with concurrent licenses to enable many people to access on an ad hoc basis? That's fine. If you have a concurrent user license, you might have 2 concurrent user license, but 20 people in your organization who use SPSS. If you give us the details of those 20 people, we can set all 20 of them up to access the training, and they'll each get their own login to access the training. So we cover that with people with concurrent licenses all the time. The training is not on a concurrent user basis. That is tied to somebody's own registration details. It's the software that has the concurrent licensing issue. I don't think I have got any more that have come in, but I have to check over here because Zoom has moved things around. No, I don't think I've got any more that have come in. So thank you very much for attending. We will get this video processed and get an email out to you that has the video and the slides and all of the links. If you have follow-up questions, as we've said repeatedly, please do get in touch with us. We'll be very happy to answer via email or set up a quick call with you to answer anything that's more nuanced than what we were able to cover today. Thank you very much, Felix, for putting this together. And hopefully we'll see some of you on one of our events in the future.
Thank you.